Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 21st, 2023 at approximately 4:26 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the precise philosophies I guide my every movement by. Well, virtually every movement. Now, I know these tools will work for you because I use them myself and have shared them with thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending upon their own individual efforts. Now, let's see, we have Emmy Tonga in with the gold. Now, we're going to look at creative writing, but understand creative writing and creativity are very tightly linked together. And it really boils down to a couple of simple factors. Now, when we talk about creative writing, it boils down to one little detail: getting a solid image in your head, translating that from what you see up here through what you're feeling all the way onto paper. And Joe Stewart, you are in with the silver today. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I do appreciate you sharing your time with me. And Celeste Sophia is in with the bronze. How you doing, Celeste? Glad you could join us. Now, I'm going to be, today I figure, let's take creativity to a whole new level. Okay, let's take it from the mental state into the physical world. Okay, the nice part about it is this is something each and every one of you has control over. Carl, you are in with honorable mention. Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well today. Now, I've got all kinds of things that I've been having on the go. And remember that thing I mentioned about a list? This is the backbone of it. Okay, now I don't expect you to read this, but you can see I got a whole pile of things here. This is what I've accomplished today. As a matter of fact, now that I'm here, I should do this part. Add another thing to my list because at this point, okay, managed to get that done and the stream is active. I've got my next three things on the list. Remember, when I'm talking about this list here, I use it because it works. If you haven't experienced, if you haven't put it to use, couldn't end up slapping myself in the back of the head to quit stuttering. What do you think? Figure that'll help? I'm really questioning it, but when the reason I suggest the list is because I was shown the idea by a multi-millionaire, and I kid you not, this guy, when he showed it to me, he opened up his wallet, he pulled out a sheet of paper that he kept folded with him. Okay, much the same way that I have this list. The difference is I've got this list. I don't leave the house much. Well, I'm actually leaving it more and more. Still to the same places, by the way. But it's amazing how quick it is for people to get really badly sidetracked from their goals. Okay, the list will help you keep on that track. Now, that isn't showing. I don't have... Actually, now that I've done that, I should do that. Why not? Why don't we do that? Because I have that door closed more often than not. So why don't we do that? Take this neat little piece of information. Okay, take that off that sheet. I'm going to start working on this a lot more readily. No, you don't want to do that. I'll have to mount this a little bit more effectively a little later. But for the moment, that'll work. Okay, and we're going to take a look at that and see what we can do about building on it. Probably within the next day or two. Probably, it might even be now. Joe, that is fantastic news. Congratulations on the $20. Well, I'm just going to read what Joe has written here. He goes, well, won $20 on the scratch-off lottery tickets today and put both my foots in my mouth with my parents at dinner, then prayed to God to ask forgiveness for it. So I'm doing okay. One question for you. In your belief structure, Joe, and this is not a call for or against it, but in your belief structure, is gambling with the scratch and wins, is that actually sinning? Just a curiosity thing on my part. Understanding how other people see things will inevitably help me in reaching more people. But from my standpoint, it really depends more on how you're putting that money to use after the fact than it does in how you got it. Because with it being scratch and win, that is the government going, here, you spend money on me. Now here's the thing, it depends on how much money you spent to get that $20, whether it paid off. If, like me, in my case, I spent $20 a number of years back on a full sheet of untorn scratch and wins. Okay, out of all 20 of them, we got $2 back. Okay, Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, this is fantastic there, Carl. I'm glad you're getting mobile again. Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I gotta find something here. I know it's open because I was looking at it earlier. Grab this. We go down here and Chad Smith, where are we? Okay. Chad Smith. This is the link to Chad's archives. Absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, give them a thumbs up. Even now with them in archives, it still matters. Okay. If you like the stream, if you do like the archives, do them a favor and subscribe to the channel. We never know for certain. Maybe one day Chad will pipe up and do another stream or another upload or something to that effect. And yes, I realize that involves strictly Chad's choice. Chad, I mean, you're more than welcome, but the reality from my standpoint is this. You are generous enough to share your time with me, okay, with all of us, and your insights. It is only reasonable that with you putting that energy out to me, okay, to me and to the people around me, it is only reasonable that we return the favor and share your link with you. You put a lot of work into your archives. Now, I finally found out, and I'll tell you, you'd think this was absolutely bizarre and just plain common knowledge. Unfortunately for me, common knowledge and technology do not go hand in hand. But finally found out in a way that made sense to me that what a blog is. Okay. It really is. So I finally figured it out, and I do have I've got a Facebook page that I've got full access to, have done nothing with. Okay, to speak of. Now we go here. I've got 1, 2, 3, and we have to do update Facebook, personal, and IVE. So it really is time for me to start working on these things. But it turns out, and you guys probably already know this, okay, but where are we here? I finally figured out what it is, so I'm going to start dealing with it. Okay, as in update the profile on my Facebook. I'll start working on the other ones, but this list, here's what I ended up doing this morning. Now, when the heck did I get up? Okay. I got up this morning. Here we are. Yeah, I was up, and I got to bed at 2. I was back up at 4:30. And then I ended up going back to bed at 8:30, back up at 9, and been up ever since. Now, with that in mind, okay, here's a list. This is how fast this list here, okay. Of course, when I got up this morning, get out of my own way. Okay, all of this is clear for me to get to bed, right? But when I got up this morning and pulled the paperwork out, got the bed dry and put together, pulled my paperwork out and laid it all out. Then I started in on pushing the racism, what have you. So, and now understand, let me see, what page are we on? Not positive there. Okay. I started this morning. Okay, what was it now? The Arcturian. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've already got 4 races done today, and I'm set to do number 5 as soon as I get done here. Okay, I am pushing tooth and nail to get everything done in time. Got the office all cleaned out, and this, by the way, this is literally part of the creative process. Cleared everything out of the way off the office desk so I could function. Turned around, got my reading in on all 3 books I'm working with, managed to get breakfast dealt with, then turned around and got a bunch of the stuff sorted out as far as I've got an entire array laid out. Here's a whole list of articles that are coming up. Now, what I'm going to be doing with these, and here's the thing with creative writing, okay, this applies to creative writing, running a podcast. Let's get that out of my way because I don't like it being there. Running a podcast, completing a major project or a minor one. All of this is linked together, and it all boils down to doing what you require to attain your own goals. Las Vegas, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, Carl's gone. I have a I believe that Compintioto to enter 30th of November deadline for gematria drawing about Kobe Bryant, basketball star. Now, I admittedly know very little about gematria. Okay, and do I have the time to really research it at this point? Honestly, with the amount I've got on the go, not really. Okay, there is only so much time I've got. I've got so many projects I put a self-imposed deadline on. But you take this list I've got, there are how many things? I have 19 things accomplished today, and bear in mind, 2 hours of that was cooked off over lunch. Nathan, how we doing? Glad you could join us. And apparently I shouldn't have closed that. This is the link to Nathan's show. And we copy that, and we pop it in here. And this is the link to Nathan's Quantum Show. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. Okay, now where are we? One thing that I am looking at here is very simple. Creativity starts here, comes down to the brain. Now, whether it goes to the logic side or the creative side seems to depend on the individual. Okay, but it's when the mind and the heart are connected that creativity really takes on a solid form. Okay, and I'm encouraging you. Well, they do, but I will tell you, the one that heads east from the outskirts, from the eastern outskirts of Rome, is going to take a long time to get back to it. And I'm betting they're going to need a boat. You know, the funny thing about it is, when we're looking at success, we are talking about the creative power of the mind. How to take that creative power from here straight into the heart of what you're doing. Okay, every one of the people in here has a very strong creative side. I know this for a certainty in my heart. Okay, and yes, I am now actively looking, and starting tonight, I will have to start posting, looking for shows to go on to literally talk about the books I've been writing, because it's time to get them moving. And frankly, well, the best tools in the world are absolutely useless if you can't find them, or for that matter, if you don't know they exist. You know, this is why I leave a lot of, well, this is why I say I leave a lot of the odd topics, if you will. That sounds really weird coming from me. To people like Nathan to handle all the research on the quantum side. Raven does a staggering job in opening cans of worms that really gets everybody thinking in a different frame. I mean, she's called her stream absolutely perfectly, calling it the rabbit hole. Nathan goes, I know the philosophy, the lost 10 millimeter dialogue. Well, all I know is, I know this philosophy, the lost 10-minute dialogue. I'm not sure which 10 millimeter dialogue we're referring to, but I do know all about, like a whole pile about losing things. My mind being one of them. You know, on the other hand, much as I lost my mind, just the other day I did find some of my marbles again. Now, when it comes to, yep, no doubt. When it comes to creativity, the more senses you can involve in your description of whatever it is you're working on, the easier it's going to be to draw it into the material world. Okay, in practical terms, let's just take a look at this, because let's face it, this is creative writing getting a little bit carried away. Okay. Now, where are we? This book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. Now, you'll notice In this one, I've actually separated it to yourself. And the reason I did that is because the way to make your life yours is to literally look in the mirror and go, you're the person I'm working to bring happiness to. If that happens to help other people, this is a great side effect. What do we got here? Just making sure I haven't missed anybody coming through the door here. See, the neat little part about all of this is every tool that is out there can be used and can be worked with if you want to take a much more positive aspect of manipulation. Every tool that is available can be manipulated to make your life better. Okay. Now bear in mind, a lot of people, when you say you manipulate something, they're referring to it being in a negative front. Absolutely there, Joe. Joe Stewart's just saying creative writing can also be useful when I'm writing in my dream journal. Now, this neat little pen, okay, writing with it, you're manipulating it. Spinning it around, you're manipulating it. Even like I do a lot of the time, chewing on the back end of it, you're still manipulating the tool. Okay, it's what you do with it that matters. The funny thing about it is that the more you use your mind, the stronger it gets. You can visualize what you're aiming for. Like with this particular book, okay, this contains literally the backbone of how I turned my life around. Okay, but you have to have an idea in mind, not what the outcome is. When I'm writing these, I go, okay, what is the overall picture? Now, here's the difference in creative writing. These are self-help books. Okay, Believe in Yourself tells you how I turn things around. This one tells how many people have taken this information to design or to streamline the conceptualization of their own business. Now, bear in mind, your business may be running an effective household. Okay, then we take this one that instead of this is believe in your finances and follow your dreams. This one shows you exactly how I took my finances, gained control of them, and currently am debt free. Okay, that's not bad considering no income. Working on that part. This is one of the reasons why I brought this up today. Okay, because and I do appreciate you pointing that out, football. When I turned around and started looking creative writing, I've got this neat situation with the game I'm running. Now, bear in mind, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Many of you have tried it or are still doing it, but I did something completely backwards. I've got the gaming crew around the table. They've all got their characters. And then I took that world, built it, and yes, I do have, and I've got a lawful. Well, yeah, he is the guy that runs the city that these guys are in is a dragon. Okay, he's a lawful neutral dragon. Okay, somebody was asking me the other day. What about the political field? Well, the political field is simple. He's lawful neutral. He is looking at, and picture it this way. He makes up the laws. The rest of the world doesn't matter. Okay, he makes the laws. Okay, there are some presidents that have done exactly the same thing. They've taken a look at the laws that were listed and went, nope, not doing it. I desire the law. I desire to make money. Okay, so the city is built on a lawful neutral platform. One of the characters is the little halfling. Okay, yes, he's a thief, absolutely, but he's actually a fighter thief, but he is primarily a businessman. Semper Fi Black Dragon, you'll be happy to know when I get done the stream, I've got a rasher of bacon ready to go for dinner. I've already had breakfast and lunch, so that works. But here's where things got really, really screwy with the game. I've got these characters. One is a businessman. One is an undead drow. Okay, he asked if he could play an undead drow. Well, I played all kinds of havoc with that. Okay, and the guy that's playing the undead drow has this brilliant idea that he wants to be essentially capable of doing anything. So he wanted to be an undead drow. Whoop. Okay. I said, okay, go right ahead. He gave me parameters. I went with him and turned around and went, okay, number one, you no longer see magic, which the drow do. Okay, and I'm talking the gaming drow. Okay, not the dark elves from the Yldrbacian Chronicles, but, and we'll get to those at another point. So he does that. Then I've got another character that happens to be a wood elf, but he's an odd one. I haven't quite figured out what he's aiming for. What I do know is the gods that I've been dealing with, okay, the gods I've got built for the campaign are literally sitting around their own little scrying pool, and they are playing a game themselves with the player characters' lives. Okay, and the guys are now starting to try and figure it out. What have we got here? The neat little part about it, and I am going, as a matter of fact, let's get that sorted out, because I do desire to get back on track here before the end of the year here. It's just things got a little scrambled trying to turn everything around. Wendy Williams, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, where are we here? I've got, in the gaming world, I've got different characters or different gods that are literally sitting around their scrying pool, around the table, if you will, going, okay, these are what the characters are up to. Now, I desire to do this. One of the things I threw into the game is these gods are now starting to talk to the players and send them off in different directions. But they're sending them off in a hidden fashion, if you will. So one of the tools I found, because we tabletop game. In other words, it's not online where anything can be modified. Where you don't actually get the emotional interaction, in my opinion, anyway. Right. So now we use sticky notes. If I've got something that one of the gods wants to tell one of the characters, I write it out on a sticky note, hand it to them, or I pull the person aside. And it's hilarious watching what some of these guys are doing to fight against each other. But boy, does it reveal characters. Wendy goes, tabletop sends my mind straight to Risk. I will tell you, Wendy, I used to play Risk, but there is a variation on Risk. Risk is actually downplayed. Did you ever play a game called Diplomacy? Okay, very similar to Risk with one massive modification. Okay, Diplomacy, in my eyes, was a much more realistic game. You should look into it. I mean, you don't even have to go get another game. You know how to play Risk. What you did with Diplomacy was everybody took the time to write out what their moves were. In other words, when you're looking set up around, let's just say, for instance, you're in North America, okay, and you've got players, you're trying to take an area out of North America, but somebody is trying to come in from South America. Every one of the players, before you take your turns, you write down what your move is, and that is committed, which means you can move all your character, all your armies or all your navies out of one area. Well, obviously leave one behind, but you write down how many you're moving into the next area. When it's your turn, you don't get to back out of it. You've already committed. Everything moves. Thanks so much for dropping by, Carl. I really do appreciate it. And we will catch up with you the next time you're in. But do sleep well. Okay. When you do that, Wendy, what happens is it means you cannot change things on the fly. So the first person to make a move doesn't play at a disadvantage. Because as with Risk, you go around the table one step at a time. Same with tabletop gaming. The thing is, with Diplomacy, you've already committed all your moves, so there is no way to change it and go, oh, you brought in a bunch of people over here, I'm going to defend myself. No, what happens is you're already committing to move out. Okay. And the other player comes walking in the back door and writes off your back end. It is far more realistic and, in my eyes, far more entertaining. You know, again, this really boils down to when you're looking at it, you're planning, you're taking that creative mind, looking at all fronts at the same time, and striving to figure out what to do next. Okay, much more realistic. Now, when I'm looking at writing the self-help, understand these same books. Okay, I've got a character. My one character right now that I'm playing, the solo character, is literally, I am now building him in a solo campaign as a gladiator, but I'm drawing out exactly what I'm looking at as far as the ability goes, as far as his personality, his interaction, his goals. Again, you desire to straighten your life out, to change your life to something you really enjoy. You take everybody else's thought of what you should be. Should doesn't count. Okay. What you should be is literally somebody else's opinion of what you're capable of or what is beneficial to them. Okay. In my eyes, should be is literally what you personally desire. Now, I do caution you, do not let an alien have your coffee cup. The coffee disappears way too fast. I'm just going to blame the coffee cup for that. You know, I've gone, like, when you're looking at it, for instance, now, when I found my partner in what's going to be my partner in life, exactly football, coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't. You know, if I knew then what I know now, well, crikey, if I knew then if I knew when I was a child what I know now about self motivation and self actualization, etc., okay, I would currently be a multimillionaire. Give me 5 years, I may make that anyway. Okay, but it finally dawned on me that by literally writing it down, like, see this sheet? And no, I don't expect you to read this. This is a whole list of articles over the next 6 to 8 months that are going to be in the newsletter. However, those same articles are now going to be, I'm going to start working with ideas around that concept to get them up onto my website on a regular basis. Now I'm talking about about my Facebook page, because I don't have clear access to a web page just yet. And I've dropped the ball so many times on that because I convinced myself I couldn't do it. And I'm sure you guys have done the same thing on occasion. You know, so I'm looking at this and going, okay, now's the time to start designing what I desire. Okay. And creative writing works. You know, the really weird part about it, where is it? Right there. The really weird part about it is this list is creative writing. Okay. I am literally putting a list together of things I've got to get done to attain the goals to create the world I'm aiming for. Yeah. You know, I don't hear that word very often. You know, discombobulated. Okay. But this is why, and this applies to each and every one of you guys. When you're putting a list together, make sure every task is broken down so it is only a 15-minute to half-hour job. Okay. Now, I have a tendency of procrastinating, just like some of you. What I found, and it just clued in this morning, you know, it's kind of like dropping a toaster into an into a bathtub. It's a little shocking when it happens, but if you survive it, it becomes very, very functional. And by the way, throwing a plugged-in toaster into the bathtub is a bad idea. Okay, it doesn't even work well to remove the dirt off dishes. Sorry, guys, doesn't work well. But my son did point out something. Okay, where are we? Yeah, that's what I'm finding, Wendy. Like with getting Race of the Worlds done, I keep postponing it because, well, I've got to get it done, and of course I ran into a problem with money. I still have a problem with money, but I look at it and go, absolutely, you know, absolutely a major problem. Okay, where I look at a problem, like you look at a stack of paper that deep, and you go, oh my gosh, that's such a massive job. Okay, so what I've done is taken to writing and to going, okay, I'm doing one race, then I'm going to go and do something else. And the thing that kept setting me back, and this applies even in gaming, I've got to get, as a matter of fact, where do we go here? That is my list that's active right now. Okay, now I've got to make certain that I get the game set up for Sunday. I've got a number of different projects on the go, and half these guys aren't telling each other what they're doing, what the gods have told them. In spite of my saying, look, share the information. I'm giving it to you in private. If you don't share the information, it's going to be a problem. Now, let me ask you this. I had a can. One of the guys came across an item, and instead of getting the thief, the guy that came across it, in all fairness, the undead drow, okay, and the undead drow's name, he calls himself Emotep, okay, because he follows Osiris, and so be it. Names aren't really a big issue, but Emotep, they were doing things. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, I posed these guys with a problem. They're walking through the woods. They found a coffin half buried in the ground. But when they looked at the side of the coffin, the lid was literally nailed shut. And then the bottom end, it was nailed shut at an angle. And then the nails were actually bent over. Okay, now let me ask you this. Now, there's some gamers in the room. If you come across a coffin that is half buried and the nails are stuck sideways through and bent over. What is your first instinct with this coffin laying in the middle of nowhere? Okay, and that was pretty much what I would thought would show up. Now, the thief come businessman goes, I'm not touching it, man. I'm just staying over here. The undead drow goes over to the coffin, and I kid you not, he turns to this undead drow, goes over to the coffin and goes, without checking around for anything, bang, bang, bang on the top of the lid. Okay, the other guy that is, I'm still trying to figure out what he's up to. And I mean, he's playing him very clearly a chaotic good character. Flip a coin. He's a nice guy, but flip a coin to figure out what he's up to. Okay. But he's standing at the one end of the coffin. The undead drow is going bang, bang, bang. Okay. The wood elf, by the way, calls himself Simon. Okay. Now, that didn't result in any noise. So what does the undead drow do? He goes and he calls out, he goes, hello. Now, why he wants to wake up a drow or wake up a vampire in the middle I mean, it was daylight, but they were in heavy, heavy forest. So sunlight wasn't getting there. Meanwhile, well, that would have been my thought. Instead, what he does, he calls out, first thing he does is he calls out, hello. Well, this triggers a trap, and nobody checked for traps. You got to remember, the businessman is a thief, and he went, I'm not having anything to do with it. But since you guys want to, I'm going to stand over here. Well, the undead drow calls it out. This triggers a trap. Unfortunately, he was fortunate he got missed. But the wood elf, Simon, got hit twice. Okay, he got hit twice with spears that were literally magical. Needless to say, he got hurt. Right. So the undead drow, who is, Imhotep, who is not a thief, okay, walks over to where the spears came from, spots this funny little trinket, looks kind of like a funnel, okay, but it's closed off at one end. If you think about it, it looks like a shotgun mic in modern terms, without the little recorder in the middle. So what does this guy do? He calls over the thief to look at it. Okay, and the thief takes a look at it, goes, I don't know how this thing works. Bear in mind, what the thief doesn't know yet, even now, is that it's a magical trap. So he says, I really don't know how it works yet. Give me a bit. Well, what does Imhotep do? Reaches up, grabs hold of this little funnel, and pulls it out of the tree, out of its mounting place. Right. Now, this is where it got absolutely stupid on his part. Pulls it out. Well, he's got in his hand. The secondary trap goes off, and a branch comes down from above and hits him right on the top of the head, knocks him out cold. Well, remember the fact that Ricky, the businessman thief, kind of go hand in hand in today's world, doesn't it? He turns around and goes, oh, I'm going to pocket that thing that Imhotep is hanging on to. I'll figure it out later, but I'm going to take it with me. Right. Now, needless to say, this did not make Imhotep, the player, happy. But given that I give characters extra experience for playing in character, who do you think out of the three of them got credit for playing in character? The long and the short of it was they did end up burying it completely, taking the markers away and burying the coffin completely. in the ground and not leaving a marker for it, which means that poor vampire is going to be some ticked if he ever gets out. He may eventually, but the last time somebody buried somebody like that was my fault. But that's a whole other issue. But here I've got these guys now actually working against each other in some ways, but that's their doing. Emotap isn't telling everybody what he's been told to go after. Okay. In Ricky's case, Ricky knows he's going that, as Ricky put it, you guys want to go to this other city. I'm a businessman. If there's a possibility of making money, I'm making money. Right. So they're working, he's going with them anyway. Because like he said, they've got to build the other event or the other building that I've already invested in. But all of this I'm writing out on paper to make sure I keep it straight. And rest assured, I got 3 storylines that are going back and forth, which does bring me to that other neat little problem that you guys asked me about. I have started writing the interactive story. Okay, which it's going to be a while before it comes together. But, where am I here? Not that one. That one. Okay, that's page 18 by the time I get done tonight, because I'll be doing at least another, let's see, that'll be 2, 3. I'll get another 4 pages at least tonight, and then get carried away on tomorrow's. As far as Races of the Worlds, the second printing goes. Whenever you're looking at creating a world that you're happy with, and I'm actually referring to, in this case, your physical world. Okay. Like these ones. These ones are self-help. They're designed for literally one aspect. Okay. But they are based on what I've personally gone through or personally helped other people go through in order to get ahead in this world. Oddly enough, I'm not as far ahead as I'd like. However, coincidentally, talk to any true mechanic. Usually they're driving a wreck of a car. They fix everybody else's. A spot-on carpenter is usually working off of haphazard stuff and maybe the best carpenter on the planet. Okay, well, I'm writing books, but these are based on things I'm actually doing. Okay, now we take a look at this one. This is reference, drawn from personal experience from what I've actually gone through. And yes, I am expanding the information. It's coming along nicely and it's still on track. Now, when we're looking at children's stories, pick a topic. Make sure you know what the story is. The one thing to remember with children's stories is they've got to be a little shorter. Okay, you don't design, it's really a good idea to keep them a little more contained, simply because children don't have that long of an attention span. By the way, every single one of you, including myself, is a child. Do not take offense to that if you can avoid it. Dogface, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, now, when we start looking at this, novels are an interesting setup. Pick and make sure you include as many different senses as you can in the character, in the layout of the place, in the visualization. One thing I have determined is having a blind other half. you really figure out how to be descriptive in a whole new level. Okay, because the more senses you involve, okay, the better off you are. And by the way, with Races of the Worlds, with the descriptions I'm putting in, I'm actually working through it with my other half because she is blind. So I'll go, here's the description. Can you feel this location? So that I can get as much of it drawn in as I can get away with. Okay. Yo, the one thing you have to remember, especially with your own life, it's easier to figure out what you're not content with than it is to figure out what you're happy about or what you may be happy about. One of the hardest parts in changing direction is number one, accepting the fact that it does not have to be painful, scary, frightening, difficult, none of it. The fact you're listening to me says you're going through staggering changes all the time. Every time you think about anything, let's say you're going, do I want toast and do I want peanut butter toast and coffee for breakfast? Or am I going to do scrambled eggs and bacon? These are all changes. And my guess is that you're not writhing around on the floor in pain. I'm betting you're not curled up underneath the counter, hugging your knees and just shaking in terror. Okay, but these are ongoing changes. Now, in all fairness, Dogface, I'm not sure what chicken schnitzel is. I know what chicken is, but schnitzel I've always had a little bit of a problem with. Okay, I always picture schnitzel as being a meat that's all flattened out, if you will. Okay, and that's no problem. You grab a steamroller, chicken right there, right over top. You now got chicken and chicken schnitzel. Although you might have to pull a feathers out of it. But the clearer your image, okay, and this is why this little list of all the different articles that I'm dealing with. For instance, I've already started the ball rolling, but in January, we're going to be looking at over the next few months, we're going to look at some of the things that people are thinking about and creating a major problem. Okay. Yeah. Dogface is just elaborating for me here. Well, for everybody. It's basically crumbled juicy chicken. Right. Oh, I see. Crumbed, crispy, juicy chicken. Yeah, see, I will quite readily, this is why I go to Wings. I like their chicken. Don't know how to cook it myself, and that's okay. But I have a couple of ongoing routes that will be ongoing features. Okay, that will be in the next number of issues of positive perspectives. I'm looking at economics. I'm looking at economics on the whole, personal economics, and the components of civilization, as well as, and you're going to love this one, I will be dealing with I've already started dealing with numerology and with astrology. Okay. Plus, of course, I will constantly be adding stuff as to how Inner Voice Enterprises is coming along to give real-time account of it. Yeah, and that's just it, football. Here's the thing. Economics combines logic, creativity, and spirituality. Okay, all three of them are necessary to co-create the world you're looking for. Okay, so what I'm going to do over the next several months in the newsletter, is add these articles in and add to them as I go. Okay, because and the reality is the other thing that I've also added to all of this, and December had one. We had our first reader contribution that came out in December's edition. And there's Shadow. How you doing, Shadow? Glad you could join us. Where are we here? This is the link to Shadow's live stream. So let me copy that and pop it in here. And again, do take a listen. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. And I forgot, and Raven, I do apologize. Where are we? Now, this is the only address that I've got for you. But if I recall correctly, you have another channel that you're working on. Absolutely. Do put it up there. I don't think I know I haven't copied it yet. Derek, I absolutely agree with you. Sometimes it does seem that way. However, do yourself a favor. And I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Be absolutely certain, in spite of what you've gone through, in spite of the hiccups, be absolutely certain that you keep treating people the way you desire them to treat you. Okay. This is critical from a karmic law standpoint. One of the biggest things that I look at is this. By the way, I still haven't found the third edition of this one. These are the kids' books. Mr. Dreamcatcher, Mr. Dreamcatcher, Mr. Dreamcatcher, and Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns. There is a third one I wrote, but I have yet to find the thing. I've got a lot of zip drives to go through. See, the neat thing about it is, and I had a long conversation with the young lass today. Okay, we have this neat ability. All of us have the choice of sitting here and literally waiting for somebody else to do something. Or you've got the choice of getting off your tail feathers and making it happen. I'm a firm believer now that procrastination does not accomplish much, which is why I mentioned a while back that I did consider joining a procrastinators support group. Problem was they kept postponing the dang thing. So I don't know if they ever got it off the ground. The ironic part there is if a procrastinator support group does get off the ground, it can no longer call itself a procrastinator support group. But creativity, the ability to change your world to build a gaming world, requires a lot of intensive thought. Yes, some of us do it off the top of our head, but I will tell you, the more focused you are when you're laying it out, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Shadow, I realize you build a framework if I recall correctly, but most game masters really have to at least lay it out in point form. What I found I'm doing is I adjust things on the fly, but I keep note of them so I know so it remains internally consistent. Oh, it absolutely can be, Derek. The thing you got in, Derek's just going, yeah, And here's the funny thing. There's a lot of people that buy into that whole concept of, let's try and make things better. The thing you got to remember is most people, myself included, for the longest time, okay, what ended up happening was I finally said, okay, my past I cannot change. Okay, and I'm not going back to it. Like, for instance, okay, I've been hanging on to these forever. Not that one. That one I think I'll hang on to probably. But, where is it? Oh, that I definitely need. See this blank sheet? I'm going to replace it over there and start building that properly. But I had one here. Where is it? Okay. Let's take a look at this thing, shall we? Now, this gives you an idea of exactly what I'm looking at. Okay, and this is, again, and I don't expect you guys to read this, okay? But it was some work that I was doing on trying to picture something and turn around and figured out that it really got scattered. But now it's time to streamline things. So much of this work is going to get tossed out and just disposed of because of the fact I'm looking at trying to repair or trying to correct a problem instead of building it and just putting the frame. Sometimes it's very necessary to just clear the deck and start over. Creative writing is very much the same thing. Bear in mind, I talk about creative writing, and most people go, oh, you're referring to taking a sheet of paper, okay, taking a pen, and starting to write it out. Do understand, just like any conflict, creative writing starts up here and comes to the mind. This is all the creative process. The writing the stuff down is simply another step to bringing it to fruition. Now, one thing that I will tell you is Shadow, I'm just catching up here. Shadow goes, it's definitely a juggling act to keep a world afloat and consistent. My older brother built a dungeon, and it was an interesting dungeon designed for first level at the top and then work your way down. But what he did was every time a character died in the dungeon, all of his stuff was left there for another character to find. Yeah, see, like you, Black Dragon, I've been starting over and starting over and starting over, and I'm telling you, it's a pain in the neck. So I finally went, because what I was doing was going, my life got to this point, and I went, that's not working. Let's start over and correct what I did wrong. I have decided correcting what I did wrong isn't working well. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Where it comes to the creative process, to literally co-creating a better world for virtually everybody, it boils down to going, here's where I'm starting. Where do I go from here? And Joe's just going, well, the saying goes, get to know your neighbor, next door neighbor. I'd rather not when they do on what they do on their own time is their business. Well, here's the thing. Much as I agree with you, what they do on their own time is their own business. But the easiest way, as far as I've discovered over the last literally 23, so 37 years, of working professionally with people from every walk of life is if you desire the crime in your area, or the security in the area where you're living or doing business, you desire that to come down. Get to know the people around you. Get to know what's driving them. Okay, the friendlier you are with people, it does stack the deck in favor of actually getting ahead. Now, it doesn't guarantee it. Okay, I mean, I could look at the negative side. So many people do things absolutely based on fear, and they hold themselves back because they are absolutely terrified of the relation, of the change. But this is what society has taught us. Fear, well, literally, society over the centuries has turned around and taught people that which fear that which you do not understand. That which you fear, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. Now, personally, I find this rather counterproductive. So I look at it this way. Okay. That which you don't understand, strive to understand. Ask questions. Find out what's causing the hiccups. Okay. Like, here's a neat little piece of information. Okay. The difference between when you're looking at creative writing and creating, let's call creative writing creative manifestation. When you get it clear in your head what you're saying, what you're seeking, the more clear, the more senses you can involve in it, the more precise that manifestation is going to come about. Now, in the gaming world, and I was going to do that and got sidetracked. Told you I do that a lot. In case you guys hadn't figured it out. Where are we here? Let's get this stuff out of the way so I can actually write. That stuff I've got to go through. But the reason I figured when I was looking at the gaming side of it is I did come to the understanding. Take a look at the old way of looking at things. Way back before we got to modern before we got to modern times, and to a major degree still in modern times, people turn around and go, God's gunning for me, or I ticked off God, or I've ended up making a deal with the devil. People are still talking about the gods interfering with their lives, or God interfering with their lives. So all I did was take that concept and went, okay, I've got a gaming world. Let's get the gods directly involved. Okay. What these guys didn't realize is they have one of their adversaries that almost got killed, and the god just reached down, grabbed him up, and pulled him out of the equation, making sure he stayed alive. Okay. God's prerogative. In the God's game, that was perfectly fine. In the character's game, not quite so much. So what I'm now doing, because I'm not going to be changing my glasses. I'm sorry, they're just staying the way they are. My hairstyle, I'm just plain not changing. I figure 40 years with the hair going the same way, I'm not fighting to rearrange it. I'm just not. But that's my choice. Will I end up bringing the hair a little shorter in the near future? Certainly. Are these going anywhere? Sure, they're going to get longer. Came to the conclusion that, and I told my other half this, I'm creating a world that I desire to live in, where I've got all the finer things in life that I desire to have, but I've got to do it my way. I'm not doing it the way I should do it, because that hasn't worked worth a hoot anyway. Where are we here? See, the neat thing, like Black Dragon's going, Joe, my neighbors better get to know me. Well, don't forget something here, Black Dragon. If you don't open the door for them to get to know you, there's going to be a hiccup with their efforts. Remember, communication is a 50-50 effort. It does not matter how much effort you put into something. If you're not, if the other person is not putting effort in, it's only 50% of the required effort. Okay, whatever you're looking to change in your life, get it written down. Okay, I've started playing around with sketching out the appearance of things I'd like in my world. Okay, now I will tell you, if I go over here, I'm not turning it, sorry, it's not working that way. This bookshelf is literally for my other half. Okay, and what I'm doing, I wonder if that, I don't think that'll fit. It won't. This whole bookshelf is for her. But these two shelves already have only her stuff on it. Okay, but as I go down further, this shelf will soon have it. This is actually the bar that I picked up when I was playing Aftermath. I picked that portable bar up because it simply represented Jeremiah. Now, the thing that we have to remember here is whatever it is you're working on, once you take that information and write it down, okay, as soon as you do that, what you've got is a world that is going to start to take shape in the image you desire it to take shape in. Let me ask you this, Derek. I made that mistake myself. Okay, and I agree with you to a major degree. Okay, because Derek's just going, I'm not worried about me. Kids always come first. I do the same thing, okay, and this is why I say, if one of my boys calls, the fact I'm on air is the last of my, way down there on the list. I'm going to walk out and go deal with it. Okay, but if you do not take care of you, you are not going to be in a shape to take care of them. It's just not going to work out as well as you'd like. Not no likelihood. Now, you may be one of those really weird exceptions. And he goes, I live in a 55 dump trailer court. I moved down there after Mom passed because my brother lived there. Everyone is here. Wow, that's moving way too much. And that's just it. Oddly enough, Tammy, you're absolutely right. We found out a long time ago, people that think they have so much. Well, I've got this big house, I got this brand spanking new sports car. What most people don't realize is they are renting the house from a bank, they're renting the car from an auto dealer. They don't own the stuff. They call it their car, but half of them, well over half, owe so much on it, it's not theirs. Okay, like I fully acknowledge I'm renting my apartment. I don't own the building. Given enough time, I will buy a building. This is one of those long range goals of mine, is to buy a building. Yeah. Yeah, see, here's the whole thing that we have to look at. When you can control something, that's a great thing. But you can only control your actions. You cannot control somebody else's. You can influence somebody else's actions, but you certainly cannot control them. Now, what have I got here? Already decided on that. I gotta get that sorted around. But again, it boils down to this: how clear can you see your future? And I'm gonna stop myself right there. Quit looking so far down the road to the future. you know, I mean, Joe's just laying out what his neighborhood is like. And here's the funny thing: every family, every household has their own way of looking at the world. Okay, but the more you get along with them, the better off you are. And I will tell you, I've got some neighbors around me that are absolutely fantastic. When you run into struggle, they'll step out of the woodwork and go, "Here's a little bit of a hand up." This is what we've got to do. This is a message we've got to take to the world at large. Okay. And I know I've talked about possibly closing this down. Every time I know I'm not going there, so let's not jump on that one. But every time I've hit that kind of a roadblock, I get so many different emails and messages. Don't actually stop. You know, um, here's a neat little thought for you, and some of you already have my number. Okay, some of you already have a way to connect with me. Now, if I know you're coming in, that you're trying to contact me, most of the time I will actually answer the call. The the ones I don't are ones that come in and go, either they come in as an unknown number, or they, when I pick up the phone, they're like, "Oh, this is so and so from such and such a bank, and you've been overdrawn." I hang up on them and go, "Really?" You know, I don't deal with the scam artists well, but it boils down to this: get something clear in your own head of what your boundaries are, of what you're aiming to co-create. Okay. The more you write it down, all you're doing when you write something down is you're taking the energy out of the etheric plane, pulling it into the physical one, and making it manifest. Now, writing it down is one step clearer to actually just saying it. Okay. As in, I desire to be financially stable or financially prosperous. Now, for me, financially prosperous is real easy. Okay, in one sense, all I got to do is generate a total of $2,500 a month, and I will be quite content. Now, sometime in the very near future, my brother's estate is going to come clear. I'm set for life if I watch what I'm doing. Oh, heavens, Joe, I wasn't suggesting that. I mean, sometimes that's great. I'm actually, when we're talking about getting to know your neighbor, even saying hi to them when you see them is a way of opening that door. Well, you got to give them credit for being gutsy, Black Dragon. Not that bright, but certainly Black Dragon, but certainly gutsy. Where are we here? Derek. Oh, here we are. I missed this one, Derek, but I come back to take a look at it. Okay, and what Derek asked was, what race is atop of all of the universe, meaning most advanced in all aspects? That's the easy part. Oh, you're going to get a bang out of it because I've talked directly to the individual. Take my word for that or don't. But the one at the absolute pinnacle of what you know as known reality is God. Okay, and I'm not talking about the God that you have to bow down and worship or that you have to sit and pray to. That God doesn't require prayers. Okay. But he is the one that set it all in motion. And I use he because I'm lazy. Okay, it's 2 letters, 1 syllable, it's a he. Okay, I could go with it, which is just as simple, but I find it easier to give it some sort of a definitive. Okay, now it doesn't matter what you call it, but that's the one that is absolutely on the top. See, now something like that football, there's not a really nice way. Oh, okay. Well, that's a little hard to pin down. I will tell you this: the Zerziks came from the last rendition. They are the only race that carried on from the last rendition of reality. Okay. Now, aside from that, when we talk about spirits coming across, they are not a race unto themselves. They are just simply the life energy that does carry through. But racially, the Zerziks are the only ones I know of that came from the last rendition of reality before what you call the Big Bang. Okay, now there's a lot of other races that have been here around here for a long time. The Yumion, the Verozic, um, just trying to think here. And I have to go back through, but the Zerziks, the Yumion, and the Verozic are some of the more obvious. Okay, and then because of the fact that they are energy beings. Okay, and this does give them a little bit better handle on it. Yeah. See, the thing is, when you have a neighbor that is a problem, and the one, like, unfortunately, I'm looking at this football. Oh, no. I'll catch that up in a minute. Yeah, football. This one, now don't get me wrong. I do not like creating a problem for people. But when you had that neighbor that would leave her door open and the dog would lunge at you, that is one where you report it immediately. And if the dog is taken away, that is quite frankly functional. Because the reality of it is somebody is ultimately going to get hurt if it isn't brought to a halt. Oh, yeah, the unfortunate part, I mean, even when somebody does an absolute dipstick, I will still offer sympathies to the people left behind. Yes, I absolutely agree that some people the world would frankly be better off without. But we require people that are off kilter so we know what the people that are being decent look like. I know that's a twisted way of looking at things. I also know it's a realistic one. One of the things, like, I remember dealing with a bunch of kids that were in serious trouble. And they were trouble kids. They were down at the park. One kid showed and he was really mad, and everybody goes, "Oh, there's so and so. He's an angry individual. Just stay away from me. It's bad news." I just looked at a bunch of them and went, "Did anybody ever think to ask him why he's upset? Because I will tell you, he was mad before he got here. Something's throwing him off kilter." One of the 15, 20 people actually turned around and asked him what the problem was. Those two became fast friends simply because of the fact the guy reached out to somebody that was actually willing to listen, and that's the key. Okay. And they found common ground and common support. You know, the reality of it is, and again, you know, again, I go back to this issue. Well, I go back to this little issue of when you're striving to change your life, writing it down will help you make that happen. Okay. Uh-oh. What do we got here? Never told anyone this, but I used to be involved heavily in the Freemasons. I got involved from my dad's Scottish bloodlines. Well, yeah, I'm definitely, my heritage is definitely Scottish. I go back far enough. My heritage is actually Druidic, which may explain why I like the animals and science itself, not to mention the metaphysical world, a whole lot more than I like run-of-the-mill people. You know, the other thing with it is I'm still a firm believer. The fact that I'm Scottish does not make me better than anybody. And yes, I'm Scottish. You do not desire me to be murdering a set of Scottish bagpipes. You really don't want me doing that. And unfortunately, from everything I've gathered, the Freemasons are a lot of things, but absolutely on the up and up. That depends on your definition. But most of the so-called charities, from the research I've done, and I call it research, that you know, yeah, I wouldn't buy on that one. I am presuming you're referring to me on football, assuming you're asking me. The answer is no. Okay. Let me put it this way. I have been, yes, I've been Caucasian for a lot of the last ones, but this lifetime I'm Canadian. Last lifetime I was Caucasian. I was in the American military. Okay. The lifetime before that, I was an Irishman. So of course I had kind of an odd color skin to myself anyway. Okay. I was at one point I was Egyptian. At another point I was Aramaic. I have been Scottish. As a matter of fact, I've been Scottish a couple of times. I was a Numenorian African as an absolutely inky black. Yeah. Celeste, how you doing? And Celeste is just adding, the lifetime she remembers in Ireland, it still had trees bigger than buildings. Yep. You know, I was also at one point, I have been other races as well. Ruggles. So, at least before the 60s. The funny thing is, um, for me, I don't stick with only one nationality. I've also been I've been a North American Indian. I was an Aboriginal for a while. I also remember a lifetime. Um, where was it now? Well, I was actually born in Crete. I was Roman for a time. Well, more to the point, I grew up in Pompeii. Yeah, that just about came out wrong. I just about said something that would surely get me into trouble. Oh yes, and let us not forget the lifetime that I was a Spaniard. and the lifetime I was a Greek. Okay, so I've had just about every skin color I can get away with. The one thing I've never been in any of my lives is I've never been female. Ever. Okay. Even people, you know, even people that have done past life readings for me, not a one of them has been able to pin down a female life. Okay, I've certainly been a male that that really dealt with females in a much different fashion than other people were at the time. Okay, I also spent life as a slave trader, which, well, I wasn't a slave trader. I bought 2 slaves, one of which I eventually married. Okay, the rest of them, everybody paid me to take them. So that worked out well from my end. And I'm not going to argue that point at all, Derek. Okay, I won't argue whether what your belief is, because unlike some people I've run into in the past, I'm not going to tell you it's wrong. I will tell you my life. I've spent way more than one life here on Earth and have many more to go yet. Okay, this does not mean everybody does. Some people spend one life here and go, okay, I had enough of that one, I'm going elsewhere. Some people are like that. But I do absolutely agree. Our souls are eternal. And absolutely, before we lived on Earth, we absolutely, you go back far enough, we all came through the Creator. Okay. Absolutely, Derek. That's a nice little. Let's see. Football. Did the dead visit you right before you died to help you transition? In most cases, football, yes. Loved ones will absolutely, from my experience, loved ones, the ones that you were really close to, will meet you at the gateway to the next world, at the crossing of the veil. These may be relatives, they may be pets, they may be plants. They could be current relatives or ones that just recently passed, or ones from ages back. Okay. Oh, and I agree with you there. I agree wholeheartedly with Joe here. As long as you believe in God the best you can, that's all that matters. The key is to believe and to portray yourself, carry yourself as though you're no better than anybody else. And this is why I say everything I do, the reason I'm striving to teach people is because once I'm gone, what I have remembered, I won't be here to pass on anymore. I should have started doing this a long, long time ago. Okay, but what you've heard, football, is very much a reality. The deceased, the predeceased, do meet you at the gateway. Okay, they do meet you at the gateway, and you do actually experience your life. Your life does flash before you as you're passing away. What they don't tell you is that your life flashes before you and through the eyes and actions of those that you have dealt with. In other words, if you've been really nice, okay, if you've been really nice to people on the whole, you'll get the pats on the back and the hugs and the whole 9 yards. But if you have been a, shall we say, dipstick to people all your life, if you beat people up, stolen from them, shot them, you're going to feel every punch, every kick, every bullet all at once. Yeah, you undoubtedly do there, Emmy. Earth is quite literally just a place it's a place to hang our hat for a little while. Okay. And it depends on how many years it takes you to gain what you were aiming at. And this is why this funny thing that many religions teach you, if you commit suicide, you're going to hell. What happens if your goal coming here was to experience suicide? At which point you didn't sin, you followed your own path. And maybe, or almost literally, the people around you when you pass came here to experience losing somebody to suicide. This means you didn't sin. Okay. Where are we here? Celeste goes, Keith, that white room. What or who is the being that brings us back out of it? I've been held in its arms like a baby a few times, and it brings me back here. I keep arguing the points. Like, I don't want to go back. And they keep shipping me back anyway. But quite often, that is literally your primary guide, the one that you arranged with before you came to Earth, before you took on this corporeal form. No matter what species, what race you are, that guide is usually the one that picks you up and goes, I know you want to stay, but the agreement was for you to go back. If you ever got over here, I was to bring you back and put you back there so you could carry on and get the rest of the lesson, regardless of the temper tantrum you're throwing. Okay. But that's who usually, that is what usually happens. Not a problem there, Celeste. Oh, where are we here? See, the neat part about it is I can when I'm looking at these birth years. I was born this time in 1963. My last lifetime, I died in 1956. It only took me 7 years to flip around. Now, yeah. And the best I can tell you, Celeste, on that one, because Celeste is just going an 80s baby. My birthday has been in question. I will tell you, regardless of what it is, okay, contact the government, find out what your birth certificate says, and just go with that. Well, Emmy, here's the kicker, and this goes to all of you, okay? You have no option. You will get older. Whether you get old or not is entirely up to you. Okay. In my case, I take a look at it and go, okay, there are things that I could have done when I was a kid. I can't do them now. Okay. I used to be able to ride a bike. Technically, I still remember how, but there ain't no way I'm getting back on one because just a little bit of an uphill grade, right? And the pressure on a pedal pusher bicycle will pop my knee out of joint. Not a fun experience. Okay. The neat part, and I've seen people do this. The neat part is stay young. Okay. If you've got the health to do it. Where are we here? Derek, you have yourself a pleasant night. Glad you dropped by and shared your time with us. Well, here's the neat thing, Celeste, and this is something you can figure out. I'm in better health now than I was when I was 30 or when I was half my age. When I was 30, I'm in better health now than I ever was. Okay. It really boils down to taking a look in the mirror and going, what am I doing that is not working? What am I doing that is adding toxin to my system? What am I worrying about that I don't have control over? You would have loved what a buddy of mine did there, Black. You know, a buddy of mine, his one parent was Catholic, his other was Protestant. They told him, go find your own religion. So what does he do? He goes out after doing a bunch of looking around. He took up demonology. You know, you can picture what his parents had to think about that. You know, in today's world, though, take a look at what take a look at the world that you're living in. Are you content? If you are, great. If you're not, start putting on paper the changes you desire to make. Okay. Football, the answer to that question, just flat out, I know this from practical experience. The answer is yes. Wild animals that you have a connection with will meet you in the afternoon in heaven, assuming they die before you do. Otherwise, you're going to have to meet them. Yeah. Yeah. Emmy's going, what's funny is my hair is still dark. It's still dark. Not much gray. Whoa. It's still dark. A little gray, not much. I still feel young. Here's the funny thing. I started going gray when I was 16. And I was a late bloomer. My father started going gray when he was 14. But gray hair is just another pigmentation or lack thereof. Yeah. Black goes, I've been 21 for over 33 years now. My brain is that of a teenager with a body that says, hell no. You know, unfortunately, when I was growing up, when they did a maturity test on me when I was 18 and found I was thinking like an 81-year-old. Not I was living like one, but my thought process was so far out of sync with other people my age. Where are we here? You know, but again, you can actually modify most of your physical organs by mind over body. Now, I will tell you, this is done in conjunction with modern medicine or naturopathic medicine, whatever you turn to. It is not done without the backup. Now, there are people that will tell you they won't touch modern medicine because the gods forbid it. No, they don't. Okay. Everything was put on this planet to help you survive, to help to aid you in having a better life. Yeah, that'll throw you for a little bit of a loop there, Celeste. The question, I always take a look at people who get hung up on hair color going, it's pigmentation. Why worry about it? The reality is I can feel the energy. I can feel my pulse at the end of my hair. Okay. I could do so even when my hair was all the way down here. Okay. And you'll notice that's below my elbow. Okay. I used to have extremely long hair. Yeah, Black goes, if I shave my beard, then all my gray hair will be gone. I remove mine on a regular basis. I've got a problem. This is growing a lot longer than this one is, so I'm going to have to trim this side down just to bring it balanced. Am I removing them? Not a prayer. Okay. But any change you desire to make in your life, the more information you can put on, the clearer picture you can paint, the better off you are. Okay. That's just the reality of it. Well, this is why I was referring to, Caffeine. Regardless of what race people are, I don't find any of them as a species offensive. Okay, there are individuals I look at going, would somebody please do me a favor and run over that individual? Okay, there are individuals I don't like, but as a species, I don't have a problem with any of them. I've talked to a lot of different species that tell me, oh, this race is evil. And on the whole, I have to tell them, no, the race isn't evil. It is simply, they don't have the same belief structure. You talk to the vegans. The vegans understand nothing. I have no doubt about that. That's why I had to go looking for the name. It's like Nords don't like being called Nords, but I don't know. I don't recall. I've got it written down somewhere. What the Nordic race actually is. The Ennead are not. They're not Egyptian gods. They're Ennead. Okay. Same as when you take a look at the different races. Yeah, I don't think most people realized it, but most of the reptilian-like races do not like being referred to as reptilian. The neat part about it, from my standpoint, is see one of the reasons that people started calling the Zeta Reticulans grays is because they were from human perception. Okay, from human perception, they were gray. It's kind of like the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans were not Atlanteans. They came from the ship Atlantia. Okay, they just got used to the idea. You know, and from that standpoint, yeah, I sort of have to go with the idea, but I do think no, I do not think about that. I know that. So we do this. Where is it? Little pen there. Where's my list of notes? This one. And what are we? Football. The answer is yes. I'm Canadian. Okay, I live in Canada. I have my whole life. That being said, I still personally spell color COLOR. I still spell neighbor NEIGHBOR. Okay, so whether you change the spelling or not, that's up to you. I personally don't care. Okay, from my standpoint, if I can make sense of it, I will go with it. But what I'm doing right now, Caffeine, is adding that name, and the way you've written it there, Should be pronounced Vada, I believe. Whoop, where are we? I think I did that wrong. Oh, there we are. Yeah. Now, the answer to your question there, Celeste, is Celeste has asked, how come some of the grays like to stare straight into our third eye? Because they can feel the impact of it, and they are literally striving to intimidate you. Doesn't work all that well. See, do not forget, Celeste, when somebody focuses on your third eye, they're impacting that connection to your higher self, to the energy body that is the driver of your vehicle. Okay, and that's what they're aiming for. The neat little part about it is that, and it's like, everybody calls the people here on Earth that live in Japan Japanese. The weird part about it is, if you go back before World War One, they were referred to by themselves, from my understanding. They used to refer to themselves as Nipponese because it came from Nippon. Okay. It's also where, unfortunately, a lot of Westerners decided that using that term as a derogatory form was the right thing to do. I personally find it appalling that people insult each other anyway. But and I can't show you because I have no idea how to get it there and have no idea where I found it. See if I can find the dang thing again. I don't think I'll be able to show you, but I'm going to see what I can. I don't think this is going to work. I have no idea where on the net I found it. Okay. But I'm holding up a picture that I stumbled across. And let's just see if it shows up here. I'll be able to see. Okay, this is a picture I pulled off. Let's see. Trying to get it so you guys can see the thing. Okay. Now, you see those little critters there? I don't know how to make the image better. I don't know how to get it from my phone onto the computer. Okay. But what I do know is, you see those little guys? Those are eox. Okay. They actually come from the same planet. Now, they are found on Earth. These fossils were found on Earth. Okay. I did not realize they'd arrived here. Had a long discussion with Preacher about it. Okay. But those guys come from the same world that the Udina come from. Okay, what I didn't know was they'd actually managed to get a foothold here. They're hard to find, by the way. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain that they are, I'm pretty certain that they are, that they are extinct now. Otherwise, we would know about them, because it's not like they were simple. Absolutely, there, Caffeine. The thing is, every living entity has life force. This is why Earth itself is such a wonderful little place. Earth itself is a Caboran. Okay. and the life energy, and the energy field she gives off will literally black out many of the other races that are here. Some come here because they're hiding, and the life energy of a Caboran is so much broader, so much brighter than that of a human corporeal that it's like holding up a candle, like a little flame, in front of a 5,000 watt spotlight. The neat part about it is, you guys read life. I know races that feed off of life, off of life energy. I know races that feed off of fear. Okay. And that's literally how they eat. Where are we here? Oh, we really are getting there, aren't we? Now, we are hitting the 2-hour mark here. And again, guys, I really want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Well, with us. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I don't think I've got anything sorted. No, I don't. But I'll figure it out as I go along. Probably before the end of the night, I'll have something else worked out. Really? Oh, bonus. Well, thank you so much for the update. Thanks so much for the update there, football. I do appreciate you guys sharing your time with me. Unless I die tomorrow, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay. And absolutely, we'll see where things go. Until then, do yourselves a favor and do take care of yourselves and each other. We will meet again. There's no question there. But until then, thank you so much and have yourselves a pleasant evening.